Welcome back to the pod. Today we're talking about a 20-year-old goalkeeper by the name of Noah Jauny, born 26th of August 2004 in Dublin. He's just gone 20. He started off at Home Farm Academy at the age of 4. To those outside of Ireland, Home Farm is an elite Irish youth side, so to have that on your CV is good in itself. And they've been a pillar of Irish football, and a who's who of Irish former and current internationals have come through their ranks. Most famous, perhaps, Liam Brady, most famous Irish players ever. Liam Brady, Johnny Giles, Ronnie Whelan. At around the age of 12, 13, he was spotted by Ireland's historically top side, arguably biggest and best Irish academy at present, Shamrock Rovers. He was playing against them. Probably would have been on the radar already, you imagine, before that, but they convinced his dad for Noah to sign up. At the time, he was at Shamrock Rovers. Current Irish international and fellow goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu, a couple of years, 2 years older, acted as a mentor even at his own very young age. Of course, he was in the first team at 16 for Shamrock Rovers before he moved to Man City. So to have such a role model, mentor, and allegedly, apparently, they still remain in contact to this day. So obviously, Gavin respected him as well as being a mentor to him. This is where the next move now in 2020, there was a lot of interest from English clubs in him and also French clubs. This is where the heritage comes into play. 4 years later, in 2020, at the age of 16, he signs for a French top tier side, Stade Brestois. Brest is easier for me to say. That's what they're known as over this side of the water anyway. But yeah, as I said, there were English clubs in the mix, reportedly Everton amongst them. And of course, he could have hung on with Rovers too, who have a clear path through for top talent into their first team and staying with the best team in Ireland and progressing to becoming a first teamer. Becoming a first teamer is obviously not a bad option to have at all. And as you may have guessed from the surname, his dad is French. His dad's name is Stéphane, a former player himself who played in the League of Ireland in his day with clubs like Dundalk, Drogheda United, Home Farm, Fingal, St Patrick's Athletic and Limerick, to name but a few. He's also now a commentator analysis for ESPN and Fox. So Noah is steeped in football. He's in a football family, and his whole entire life has been around football in the biz, as they say. This made the transition to France much more easy, an option for the youngster, and more comfortable for his family than going to the UK. Like he would have family, he does probably as family and friends network there. He's also a fluent French speaker, so it's not like a normal Irish kid going to France, which is done now, but it's not as big a factor because he does have that French heritage. The main factor of the move, of course, isn't heritage, it's football and his talent, and above everything else, that's why Brest, if he hadn't have had that French connection, they may have missed out on signing the talented youngster in the face of English club interest, but the French connection played a part as well, and again, being a backdrop that the family is familiar with. And again, I don't know, to me, moving to France or moving to England, that's an easy option, isn't it? Like, why wouldn't you move to France? But anyway, that's just my own personal choice. But yeah, off to France he went. What a great move it turned out to be to date, which wouldn't have been a surprise to anyone who worked with him as he moved through, all his previous clubs, as he moved through the ranks at Brest and continually stepping up levels at Brest. The then 18-year-old, 2 years later, turned out 12 times, missing only 2 games since his debut with the B side on the 14th of January 2023 last year. That's the 22-23 season. The B team, their B side plays in the third tier in France, which is a great benefit to anyone playing like in France, Spain, Germany, for example, as the B teams play proper, down a tier, but they don't have to go on loan. They can play with the B team. They're still in the whole club group. So, it's a great benefit, as isn't the case in England. England, they do play under 21s, whatever, but they don't have B sides. I don't know why they never brought that in. There was talk of it a few years ago, wasn't there, again? But they never did. Anyway, in England, players go on loan, but they're out of, the club then, and they're really, you could get promised, the club could get promised, and the player could get promised stuff by the loan team that they're going to play them and all that, but when they actually arrive, it mightn't happen. So at least if you're in the B side, as this case, it's better for the player and their own development and their own career, and having they're still within the club setup and the coaching setup, and they have a clear pathway through to the first team, and the eyes are always on them from their first team, and in this case top tier. So anyway, he has stepped up now to the first team squad proper, obviously, and always, unfortunately for a goalkeeper, there is only one spot in the team for a keeper, but keepers as well, the main keeper, the first choice keeper, rarely misses week in, week out games unless he's injured or there's a significant drop in form. They're never substituted mid-game. So if he was an outfield player, he'd probably even maybe be further along than he is now. But as it stands, he's on paper, I read somewhere, the third choice goalkeeper. You can take what you want from that. He's very young by goalkeeping standards at the time of writing. He's only just gone 20. His goal and path is clear, becoming first choice keeper with Brest, and this appears well on target and within grasp. Third choice, yes, but again, is he really third choice? If something happened to the first choice keeper, or if the first choice moved on at any stage, no, it would be in prime contention for the first team number 1 jersey proper. First team choice, the first choice keeper hasn't missed a game, it has to be said, really, in the last 3 seasons, barring a couple of games through suspension, and I imagine one of them in the last season, maybe injury, I don't know. But yeah, he's basically been a main fixture all the games. So it would take a lot to dislodge him from his spot. Maybe he is 33, but he is very experienced. So, we'll have to see what comes. But if something did happen or he moved on himself, it would be really a straight shootout between Noah and the second choice keeper. The second choice keeper is 25, not much more first team game time himself. So when the opportunity comes, it should be a straight shootout between the two of them. Perhaps age and talent and international experience, more recent international experience, I should say, to boot, would give Noah a nod. The other keeper vying for first choice keeper, if the opportunity arises anytime soon, he's also had under 19 experience. He is 25, so that was a while ago, 6 years, probably 7 years ago. That was with France. Internationally, Noah is born in Ireland and his mum is Irish, of course, as well. He's represented Ireland at only under 18s thus far. I think he was in a training camp for under 19s. Don't know why he wasn't more involved. Seems a bit of a omission from the Irish setup. But again, you can only have a certain amount of keepers, can't you? But still, he's high up the ranks there in, you'd imagine, talent in the goalkeeping department. France is obviously one of the best international teams in the world, and if they came calling, it would be hard for anyone to turn down that opportunity at Brest. His nickname is the Irishman, and that he is. Goalkeeping department in Ireland is actually probably the most competitive it's ever been, as we all know. And who really is the Irish number 1? Caoimhin Keller, Bazunu, Travers, who knows? It really just depends on who's playing more each time there's an international week around, but if he were to break into the Brest first team in the near future in the top tier in France, he would be within that mix and be certainly a loss. He'd be in the mix probably for the French setup as well, so it would be a major loss to Ireland if we lost out on him, because he is clearly a top talent. whatever happens, his trajectory is well on course. Doesn't appear to be slowing down. Next step, who knows? But he's going to be going for that first team spot. With such a wealth of experience in his family and team around him, and their combined knowledge of all aspects of footballing, the footballing world, there will be a plan to get him to the top. I'd imagine that will be in the not too distant future. His desire is, of course, to go straight through and become the number one at Brest. Again, that's well within his grasp. Brest have finished last season in third, so they're currently in the Champions League. And if he were to break into the team soon, he'd be straight away on the radar of Ireland and France, of course, because he'd be a very young Champions League, top tier, top league keeper. And to note, just a few days ago, a week ago, he was on the bench in their first Champions League proper match against Sturm Graz. Obviously, again, didn't come on because that doesn't happen for goalkeepers. But Brest did win 2-1. So, he's really, I'd say, second choice. But again, if and when that opportunity arises, you don't want a situation like Caoimhín Kelleher that you're sitting there for, years and you're not getting any nearer to that number one spot. But again, he's a very smart, knowledgeable team and family behind them. They're going to be only too well aware of that scenario, and what's best for him will prevail. If it was me, I'd be getting him into the Irish under 21 side and the Irish setup as a whole very soon. If you liked the video, send us a subscribe, like, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we'll be watching.